Welcome to More Than It Seems, Stories Beyond the Cardboard, a series where one piece of cardboard can create the ultimate link to baseball history. Behind every photo and stat line lies something richer: resilience, drama, joy, heartbreak. Untold stories that go far beyond the box score. This isn't just about collecting the cards, it's about forming a lasting connection. I'm John, and I'm glad you're here. Hector Espino, Buzz Arlett, Nick Kolop, Mike Hessman, Bob Cruz. Names that echo through baseball's back roads. Players brimming with promise, but limited by injury, opportunity, or simply bad timing. Baseball can be a cruel game. A story of unfulfilled potential written one pitch at a time. Some make it, others don't. Some find glory under the lights. Others fade into the obscurity of box scores. Today, we meet a man who could crush a baseball farther than almost anyone alive in his time. Yet somehow, his name got lost in the dust of history. A story of promise, power, heartbreak, and redemption. This is the story of Joe Hauser, or as the fans once called him, Unser Joe, our Joe. Pictured here on his 1922 E120 American Caramel card, Joe Hauser was born in 1899 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a true product of the Midwest. He grew up chasing fly balls behind the brewery district, playing on sandlots carved between smokestacks and train tracks. He quit school at 14 to work in a cement factory, work that built the wrist and forearm strength that powered his future swing. By his late teens, he was hammering balls in the minors, long before power hitter was even a thing. To really understand Hauser, though, you've got to picture baseball in the 1910s and early 1920s, the tail end of the dead ball era. Guys were bunting, stealing, and slapping singles. Home runs were rare. But Joe Hauser, he was swinging for the fences before it was fashionable. Hauser's big break came with the Philadelphia Athletics under Connie Mack, the legendary gentleman of a manager who could spot talent a mile away. He debuted in 1922, but 1924 was his big breakout. 27 home runs, second in the American League behind only Babe Ruth. Not bad company at all. Fans even called him the Babe Ruth of the A's. He wasn't flashy, no big ego, no headlines, just a lunch pail ball player with Popeye forearms and a compact swing that could send a ball into orbit. He trained hard, drank little, and showed up every day ready to work. And just when it looked like he was about to become a household name, fate had other plans. In 1925, during what should have been a routine play at first base, Hauser shattered his kneecap, a devastating injury in an era long before rehab or sports medicine. Surgeons held his leg together with gold wire. It ended his season, and it nearly ended his career. He tried to come back in 1926. The swing was there, but the speed wasn't. His knee never fully healed. Connie Mack gave him every chance, but by 1927, Hauser was out of the majors. At 28, his big league dream was all but over. But Joe Hauser wasn't built to quit. If the majors didn't want him, the minors would just have to deal with all of his home runs. In 1927, he joined the Kansas City Blues and absolutely tore the cover off the ball, hitting .353 with 49 doubles, 22 triples, and 20 home runs. A year later, he was briefly back with athletics. But it was some suspect advice from Ty Cobb, reportedly, that wrecked what might have been a fine season with the A's in 1928. Hauser was hitting .365 with 8 home runs through his first 35 games, when Cobb, closing out his career with the A's, tried to make him into a dead pull hitter. "Stand closer to the plate," Cobb counseled. "Hit everything with your elbows." Hauser began hitting everything off his fists. Then Cobb, who Hauser maintains didn't want another player stealing his thunder, told him to stand on top of the plate, and Hauser's slump got even worse. He wound up at .260, eventually losing his job to a young phenom named Jimmy Fox. So he headed to the Baltimore Orioles of the International League, one of the best minor league clubs. And in 1930, he did something even Babe Ruth never did. He hit 63 home runs. 63! Before integration, before air travel, before modern bats or training, they called him Unser Joe, our Joe, and he kept going. In 1932, with the Minneapolis Millers, he hit 303 with 49 home runs. In 33, he smashed 69, breaking his own record and becoming the first ball player in professional history to hit 60 or more home runs in 2 seasons. Only 4 men have ever done that. Their names: Babe Ruth, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and Joe Hauser. That's it. That's the list. And yet, Joe Hauser never made it back to the majors. A second knee injury in 1934 sealed it for good. Some of it was timing, some of it was perception. Once you're labeled a minor leaguer, teams stop taking risks. He didn't have an agent, he didn't have a rehab plan, he just had that swing and a what-if story. Hauser once said, "Baseball gave me everything I ever wanted, except a fair shake." He wasn't bitter, just honest. He was born a decade too soon, a man built for a later era. But that's what makes this story so timeless. Hauser didn't need Cooperstown to make an impact. He turned rejection into record books. He turned exile into legacy. After hanging up his spikes, following 399 career minor league home runs, Hauser went home to Wisconsin. He opened a sporting goods store in Sheboygan, coached local kids, and managed the hometown team. No fame, no fortune, just gratitude. His record of 69 home runs stood for nearly 18 years before being tied by Bob Cruz in 1948 and later broken by Joe Bauman in 1954. But at the time, it was simply legendary. Joe Hauser lived to be 98 years old, long enough to see baseball reinvent itself again and again, from Ruth to Mantle to Bonds. And through it all, his name stayed right there in the record books. Baseball celebrates fulfilled potential. The stars, the Hall of Famers, the Cooperstown speeches. But Joe Hauser, he reminds us that greatness doesn't always come with a plaque. Sometimes it comes in the form of a story, one that simply refuses to fade. This has been More Than It Seems, Stories Beyond the Cardboard. I'm John. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please like the video, drop a comment, and be sure to subscribe. And remember, the numbers on the back of the card never tell the full story. It's always more than it seems.